What would you do if the worst moment of your life was not the kidnapping, not the darkness, but the moment you realized you were still alive underground? In December 1968, a 20-year-old college student named Barbara Jane Mackle was taken from a quiet motel room near Emory University in Georgia. Just hours before, she had been sick with the flu, resting with her mother, waiting to return home for Christmas. It was supposed to be an ordinary night, the kind that fades into memory without meaning. But sometime in the darkness, a knock came at the door and everything changed. A man claimed there had been an accident involving her boyfriend. It sounded urgent, believable enough to open the door, but it was a lie. Within moments, 2 kidnappers forced their way inside, restrained her mother, and took Barbara away into the cold night. The silence of that motel room was replaced with panic, confusion, and fear. In a matter of minutes, her life had been completely taken out of her control. Barbara was driven away from the city, away from safety, into a remote, wooded area. What waited for her there was something almost impossible to imagine. The kidnappers had prepared a box buried beneath the ground. It was not just a hole, it was carefully constructed with vents for air, a small supply of food and water, a light, and even a fan. It was designed for one purpose: to keep her alive, but hidden. When they placed her inside, Barbara screamed. She could hear the sound of dirt being shoveled over her, each layer sealing her deeper into the earth. Then the sound faded. Then everything faded. And suddenly, there was nothing left but darkness. She was alive, but the world was gone. There are moments in life where fear becomes overwhelming, where the mind begins to break under pressure. For Barbara, that moment lasted for more than 3 days. She was buried about 1.5 feet underground, unable to see the sky, unable to hear voices, unable to know whether help was even coming. Time itself became meaningless. Day and night disappeared. There was only waiting. Above the ground, her family received a ransom demand. The kidnappers wanted $500,000, a massive amount at the time. Her father agreed to pay. For him, nothing mattered except bringing his daughter back alive. But even as the money was prepared, there was no guarantee that Barbara would survive long enough to be found. Underground, Barbara faced a different kind of battle. It was not physical in the way people expect. It was mental. She had to control her breathing, fight panic, and resist the crushing thought that she might be forgotten. In that small confined space, every second stretched longer than the last. The air felt limited. The silence felt endless. And yet somehow she kept going. She later said that she held on to one simple thought: Christmas morning with her family. She imagined being home, safe, surrounded by the people she loved. That image became her anchor. When fear tried to take over, she returned to that thought again and again. It gave her a reason to stay calm, a reason to keep breathing, a reason to believe that this nightmare might end. Meanwhile, the investigation above ground began to unfold. The ransom exchange did not go as planned. Something went wrong, and the kidnappers fled, leaving behind a car. That mistake became the first real clue for the FBI. Inside that abandoned vehicle were traces, pieces of a puzzle that investigators could begin to put together. Slowly, carefully, the FBI followed those clues. Names, fingerprints, false identities, all of it started to connect. Each new discovery brought them closer to the people responsible. But more importantly, it brought them closer to Barbara. Time was running out. The kidnappers eventually gave vague directions to where she had been buried. It was not precise, it was not easy, but it was enough. Agents rushed to the area and began searching. The ground was wide, the location uncertain, and every minute mattered. Somewhere beneath that earth, a young woman was still alive, waiting. Imagine standing there, looking at the ground, knowing that someone is buried somewhere beneath your feet. There are no clear markers, no signs, just dirt, trees, and the weight of urgency. The agents began to dig. They searched with their hands, with tools, with anything they could use. It was not just an investigation anymore. It was a race against time. Below them, Barbara waited. She could not hear the digging at first. She could not know how close they were. All she could do was hold on. Every breath was a decision. Every moment was a test of her will to survive. And then, after more than 3 days underground, something changed. The sound came back, voices, movement, the faint disturbance of the earth above her. The silence that had surrounded her for so long began to break. And then, finally, the box was opened. Barbara Mackle was pulled out alive. After more than 80 hours buried underground, she had survived. The moment she came out was not dramatic in the way movies show it. There were no explosions, no sudden bursts of action. It was quiet. It was human. It was relief, shock, and disbelief all at once. She was dehydrated, exhausted, but alive. The nightmare that should have ended in tragedy had ended in survival. The country reacted with shock. People could not understand how someone could endure something like that and come out alive. The story spread quickly, becoming one of the most chilling and unforgettable cases in American history. The kidnappers were eventually captured. They were brought to justice. Their plan completely unraveled. What they had designed to control and terrify had failed. The box they built did not become a grave. It became a symbol of something else entirely. Barbara returned to her life. She did not remain just a headline or a victim frozen in that moment. She moved forward. She built a future. She became a wife, a mother, and a person who continued living despite what she had gone through. But survival stories are never just about the event itself. They are about what comes after. Because escaping the danger is only one part of survival. Living with the memory is another. Barbara's story stays with people not because of the crime, but because of what it reveals about the human mind and spirit. In a place designed to break her, she found a way to remain strong. In a situation where panic could have taken over, she chose control. In a moment where hope seemed impossible, she created it for herself. Sometimes survival is not about strength in the way we imagine it. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. Sometimes it is quiet. Sometimes it is just a person, alone in the dark, refusing to give up. Barbara Mackle was buried under the earth, hidden from the world, trapped in a space no one should ever have to endure. And yet she came back. She outlasted the fear, the silence, and the time that tried to defeat her. Because in the end, it was not the darkness that defined her story. It was the fact that she kept breathing until the light found her again.